Yeah, it became unbalanced. I think that the major problem was it was now all online, and everything has taken such a long time to like get retention in my brain.
Okay.
When you're looking at a screen as opposed to going into class.
Yeah.
So the time period that I was out of work, I would now have to start at relatively ground level. Like there's a couple places where I could go in and be Sue, right?
Mm-hmm.
But being Sue while going to college online is just undoable.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to do that.
We're talking 90-hour weeks.
One of those things you'll end up failing at.
Yeah. Well, the reality is, best case scenario, both things suffer a little bit. Worst case scenario, I fail at both things.
Yeah, you just like fuck it all up because it's I
yeah.
can't manage this.
Yeah.
This is inhumane.
Yeah, some meth looks good.
Oh, never again.
No, but I'm saying like.
Yup.
That's what you're asking for, is that kind of thought process of like there's just no way that this is possible. So yeah, I haven't. So when we first got shut down, I was the Sue at Public downtown St. Paul.
Yep.
And yeah, we got shut down, and then I was gonna open the Gnome.
Oh. Yeah.
And it just I had like a panic attack 3 days before I was like supposed to open.
This.
I was like, yeah, I mean, yeah, well, we just talked about being a Sue is too much. Now you're a Sue for an opening while you have a full.
You're sleeping there.
Like, no, thank you, dude. This is bullshit. Not bullshit on their part. So I called him, and Aaron was super understanding, and
I need to focus on school.
Yeah. And he was like, of course, dude. And he's like, anytime you need a job, come back, work here.
See, and that's a very cool aspect of, like, this industry, is that, well, there are things that need to be, like, changed and things that need to be different. That, like, aspect of, like, if you don't set everything on fire, you can relatively move yourself like back into it if you like ever need a job again. It's like, I don't know, something about like the reliability of it is like really like nice, I guess. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you, because I've had the experience. I've gotten fired from very few jobs, right? Yep. You were at one of the jobs that I got fired from.
This was true.
Fucking bullshit.
This is true.
But when I got fired from that job, I left and called 2 people and had a job the next day.
Yep.
Signed my 1099, is it?
Or the little form.
I signed W4,
W2 or W4,
W2, whatever you sign. I signed it the next day. I started the next day. I had a paycheck in 2 weeks. It was like,
there's something like good about that. That like
I agree
that it happens. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Well, it doesn't happen. No, there's loyalty in the kitchens, and also like if you are skilled and you're talented and you're a good person, like people will hire you kind of no matter what. There's always need in some capacity. You might not always be getting what you want to get paid,
Exactly.
But I've talked about on this show how like before I got sober, the kitchen I was at and I was like moving glass out of like out of the restaurant, right? The chef found out about it, and he's like, you can't work here anymore. I'm gonna keep you on like the schedule so it doesn't look like you got fired, but like we can't do that. And then when I got sober, I worked there again, and then he got me a job at the Craftsman where I met everybody from the Lexington.
Nice. And
then we started this show together. People who watched the last episode would be like, you told that story fucking verbatim. But it's important. It's important. Yep. Like that's I think that's what you're trying to say, is that like there is that loyalty and there is that like maybe not stability is the right word, but there's always that platform to fall on, that safety net.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. It's like it's always gonna like exist despite like the nightmare that is currently half still occurring, mostly still occurring. pretty much unchanged, actually.
We pretend like it's just over.
We're like, everything's totally fine, guys. But, like, it's weirdly, like, resilient, even though it's, like, getting totally fucked and ravaged, but, like, it's still, I think, will always exist in some kind of capacity.
Yeah, it's interesting because I saw a lot of posts when the pandemic started where they were like, we always thought this was going to be a job that we could always go to no matter what. And I'm like, well, for one, like, it's been 2 weeks, okay? If I can chill out. You know what I mean? Like, but also, it's evolved. It's survived.
Yeah.
People are finding out how to do things in a new and different way.
You gotta adapt, and, like, sometimes it takes a little while.
Yeah.
You know? And that's, like, totally understandable. And it's like, it should take a little while. Like, don't go bum rushing your change.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I think people are better set up. I mean, I've had the opportunity to kind of meet all kinds of cool people and how they are adapting in this pandemic. That's like the main positive of the show is I get to see like all these cool different like ideas that people have had, and it's working out for a lot of people. I mean, and I've talked at length with people about this, but I'm glad I get to talk to you about this because I think that you'll have maybe a similar viewpoint, or at least you'll understand where I'm coming from a little bit. But, like, dude, if your margins are so fucking shallow that if you closed in the first 2 weeks, then maybe that wasn't the fucking pandemic.
Yeah, it's, you know, when you run things razor thin, like, it's like all it takes is you throw like a little extra wrench in there, and it's like, well, it was either going to be now or it's going to happen down the road. But, like, not everything should exist. And I know maybe you're not supposed to say those things out loud, but, like, not everybody should necessarily have a business.
Yeah, you know, like, maybe you shouldn't do, like, micro-seasonal Italian food in the middle of winter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like,
with a 4-page wine list.
Yes. Bringing out the chilies already. Yeah, getting hot. Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's I just I love.
I know exactly what you're saying, though. Hell yes.
I mean, that's what you're trying to say. That's what we're trying to say.
Yeah. That
what, you know, details aside, there are places where it's like that's not going to work. Here's why it's not going to work, and like you're pouring money into it to try to make the margins seem like they're relevant,
and it's like,
and they're not.
Egos. Nobody wants to like admit that they fucked up. Myself included, lots of the time.
Oh yeah.
Like, and so I can only imagine that transferring into like, you know, you have like this thing you created and you're like, oh, I don't want to give up on it, and it's just like on fire and you're like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't care that I don't pay anybody good. That's just how it is.
That's the industry.
It's like, that's how it's been. Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
It's just like, I mean, does it have to be though?
No, it really doesn't. I mean, I've seen
exactly, and it's really cool that like
it's interesting to work at places that have a different mentality than that, right? Like, so I got the opportunity to work like under Justin Sutherland. It wasn't really. It was like under his umbrella, right? And very little ego goes into what he does. In fact, since the pandemic's happened, he's like lost a couple restaurants, bought a couple. I mean, it's just like he does what seems to make sense monetarily. Yeah. And, you know, I have mixed feelings about some of the decisions, right? But it's overall, it's not this, like, what public wasn't working. Public isn't working. We're not going to keep it open in a pandemic. Go work at the Gnome. right? And we're going to pay you good, and you'll be able to give your employees hours, and, you know, it's like, we're working on health insurance here. There was none of that ego. And when the ego, you know, I talked at length with Soleil, who was my CDC at the Lexington, about ego and how you have to get out of the way of cooking. Because cooking can be something truly beautiful, it can be something truly profitable, and it can be something that can build a community. But I think that we've kind of grown up in a different culture, man.
Yeah. I feel like, yeah, it's just, people just are gonna, I don't know what I'm trying to say. My brain is just...
No, don't worry. Don't worry. You just got off work, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I been taking a break. Went and tried to do some kind of carpentry shit.
Yeah.
Like some closet stuff, and it's just not for me. I was like, because
Why?
Well, I didn't work for like 6 months or so, you know, because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Shut down the spot I was at last. I was at Alma before the pandemic hit.
I love Alma.
Which I actually, overall, I really, really enjoyed working there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very cool place to work. Just in terms of, like, the attitude and just how, like, the people that worked there as well. Like, definitely no yelling, no screaming, nothing, like, wild happening. It was, like, a very, like, calm and, like, relaxed environment. But, like, also, like, you know, do your fucking job.
Yeah. Well, I think that, like, when things are set up in a relatively organized fashion, it's easy to have a more laid back kind of a laid back attitude to it, because it's like, you know, my kind of hell nightmare is the Lexington, right? And, like, there was just so much that they were trying to achieve. It kind of goes back to the argument of, like, some things shouldn't exist. It was like Jack Reba was trying to make a supper club that was also like a Michelin star, like, it was wild, dude. It was so, I mean, you just never had enough time to do anything, and everybody was overworked. We were paid well, right? But you're eventually gonna just snap, and everybody did. I mean,
everybody burns out, like, and then you can't create something that lasts long at that level when, like, you do that, because then it's like, then you're always retraining, you're always trying to, like, get people that are willing to do that, and, like, at some point you run through the mill, and there's no one left.
Yeah, I mean, we're not the smallest city, but we're not a big city.
No.
And so the labor pool is tiny, and everybody hears that you have the highest turnover rate in the Twin Cities. And my main point, I don't want to make this another episode bashing the Lexington, because there was a lot of things that I learned at the Lexington, but we're gonna leave it at that. But my point is, Alma is kind of like the other side of that coin, where it's like, it's a little bit,
they do it really well,
yeah,
and it's like, we want to, like, execute things well and at, like, a high level for, like, the city, and not be, like, psycho.
yeah.
There was no, like, yelling at all.
Yeah.
Like, it was very, like almost like a very, like, caring, I guess I would use, but I don't even know, like, because I'm not used to being in, like, environments like that, so I never trust when people are like, I take compliments,
Just, like, paranoid the whole time, like,
yeah, honestly,
yeah.
For me personally, like, yeah, I definitely don't receive, like, compliments well, even though my ego really enjoys them.
Yeah.
There's another part of me that, like, doesn't, like, believe it. I'm like, oh, they're bullshit.
Yeah. Well, your dad's Lebanese, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad's Greek.
You know, it's just like,
I think that's where it comes from a little bit. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
like,
my dad is a loving man.
Yeah,
But in terms of compliments, like, it's all meant to build me up, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Like, it's definitely not a situation like Alma where there's like it's calm. He's not a calm human being.
Yeah, man, yeah, definitely go.
And then you train that, you enter into the restaurant industry, and there's all these dudes who, are very similar to that.
Uh-huh.
And you just, that's all you know.
Yeah, and I feel like I kind of started late, like in this environment, or like what I always perceived to be late, based on so many people that like I worked with, and were like, I started when I was 16, or
Yeah.
I'm wee high and I was barely looking over a fryer, and it's like I was in my like early 20s. I was like 22, 23.
Yeah.
Just getting yelled at like in the dish pit, like literally. Oh my god, bro. Oh, nightmares all flashing back to me. Oh, dishwashing at Buka, man. As like a 22, 23-year-old. Just, they had no daytime dishwasher. And I'm telling you, every day I would have to come in. They had me come in at like 4 or 5. And it was every single pot, pan, every single plate, completely dirty, completely caked.
And cold.
I imagine you've seen like dried on Alfredo and pasta sauce to pots and pans and lasagna pans just burnt to fuck.
Yeah.
And you just come into this mountain and I'm just like getting screamed at in Spanish every day. And like that helped so much. Like just, because I've always felt like I've been like a pretty decent, like good at just like, well, gotta work.
Yeah.
Like that kind of like just mule work ethic just beaten into me. I feel like you understand the like, you can walk now, it's time to work.
Yeah, dude. Like, you're going to the Sadie Hawkins dance? I'm sorry, I smell like gyros and hot peppers, so I'm good, dude. Yeah, no, I feel that. I feel that, and that's very much the environment that it's the same thing that I grew into. I did start at a younger age, but like it was kind of bouncing back between front of house at a taqueria and then back of house at a taqueria, front of house at an East Coast place, back of a house at the East Coast place. It wasn't until I was like 19, 20 that I really started in the restaurants. But it was the same thing, man. It was just like rage. I mean, absolute rage. I mean, we've already talked about like how these margins are so thin, and like so they're just trying to make something work.
Yeah.
And they'll do whatever it takes. And you're this kid who has no idea.
Yeah, I'd worked a lot of like other jobs and stuff before, but nothing like that. Like,
yeah,
I worked in like a meat department, and I've like done landscape shit, and worked like I've always like thought that like people should like try a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Until you find what you like, and even after that, try some other things. Like this, I was like laid off for like 6+ months. And after a while, like you can only collect so many unemployment checks and eat so much bolo before you're just like, man, maybe it's time to go back to work. I should try something different though, because all this like pandemic shit was still kind of, and I was just like, I don't know. I was like, now's the perfect time. I've kind of been wanting to try something different for a while, just to do it, just to see, because it's like, why not?
Yeah.
Same thing. The restaurant, it'll exist in some kind of way. So like I felt like I had that safety net built. So I was like, oh, well, I feel like safer to go try something different. And waking up at 5 a.m. ain't for me.
Wow. Yeah.
Nope.
No.
I didn't learn my lesson the first time I did it, when I went and worked at a hotel, and was like, just, man, ugh. I was like, let's try it again, like 5 years later, and it still is terrible.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
for me,
your rhythm is something completely different. I mean, you've
never adjusted. I was like,
yeah.
I'll give it a few months, like I'll be able to like adjust, and just like, no, it sucks. I hate going to bed at like 9 p.m. and still just like not feeling like I got enough sleep. I'm just like, this is ass.
That's my biggest thing, because with school, obviously, I have pretty much all early morning classes, right? And I don't have to get up at 5, but there's been 2 semesters where I've had to get up at 6, right?
That still sucks.
And I'm like, I will go to bed on time. I'll do it right? I'm a big boy now, right? Like, I'm no longer in solitary confinement. Like, I can fucking do this, right?
I'll turn on my own lights.
And it was, I mean, I felt it. I felt it daily. Like, I would go to bed at that time. I still have sleeping medications, but I'm almost off of them, right?
Fuck yeah.
Slowly tapering down.
Nice. Don't do that all at once.
But I had medications, so it was like I was going to bed at that time. And I was getting up at that time. But you're right. I never adjusted, man. Over a period of 12 months, I never adjusted. I don't know how people do it.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? It's not for me. I wasn't liking what I was doing enough that I felt like I was gaining anything either. Because sometimes you can make sacrifices to certain aspects that are worth it.
Yeah.
That are like, you know what? This is like a worth it sacrifice.
Yeah.
Like, but this wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
At all. And like somebody like, you know, reached out to me and was like, blah, blah, like, do you want to come do this? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I do. I was like, really, it's like 10 to like 8. And it's just like...
That's a great
schedule. I was like, that's a great schedule.
Yeah.
At least for me, like for right now. And it's like, I don't know. I want to like, I have a buddy that's a really good like forager in the city. And shouts out Minnesota Forager. You should follow him. MN Forager. At Instagram.
I don't give a fuck. I'll have him on the show. Hell yeah.
I want to like learn a lot more about that this year. I'm like, want to try to like learn more just because it's accessible and it's there.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know.
So is that where you're going to be? You're going to be working with him, or are you working at a restaurant?
Yeah, working in a restaurant.
Which one? If you don't mind me asking, or can you say?
Well, yeah, I can say. Well, it's not like some pride.
I don't know, dude. People have weird hang-ups, man.
I got people
don't
like
want
that.
to say. Okay.
No, I'm going to go work with Carl and Pranaya.
Oh, yeah. Where?
Go make some burgers and some lobster rolls for a little while.
Where are they at right now?
They're at Burger Dive.
Oh, Burger Dive. Yeah. Old boy from Lexington, from the Lexington owns that.
Nick.
Yeah, dude, Pranaya. I love Pranaya.
Hell yeah, man.
They told me I didn't listen to Pranaya. I love Pranaya.
Yeah, so I'm going to go do that.
Dude, did I get blackballed?
Did you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or am I just egotistical? Because, like, one day I walked into work and they're like, get the fuck out of here, dude. And I'm like, what?
What did you do?
I don't know, man.
I know you got, like, gotten rid of, but I don't really know why.
Yeah, so there's one thing that I can think of for sure. And there's two things. One that I did and one that I was in the situation. So the person who got me the job, right, at Broders, not at Terzo, he did not have he did not leave happy, right? And he super burned that bridge.
Oh, okay.
And I'll protect Chad to the day that he dies. He's like one of my chefs, one of my mentors, right? And in this situation...
I feel like I remember I don't know why it happened because I was at Terzo.
Yeah, I mean, there was just...
He like set a fire and it's like, hey, whatever.
It was like, okay, cool. Like,
you gotta do what you gotta do.
I guess he's gone. Like, what up? Who's this little, fuck stick who's his like, hanger-on pretty much. And, but I did my job really well, and I knew what I was talking about. So they moved me from Broders over to Terzo. So that's one thing. Is like that was I think maybe they were always kind of like, where are we gonna find our excuse to get rid of this dude? And
and you can really kind of make up whatever one you want in the restaurant industry. Like,
absolutely,
it's one of the few that exists where you don't really have to have.
I make mistakes all the time, so like it. Pick one of the mistakes I made in the last 3 days. I mean, and just add them up. But then there was the lamb stock incident.
Oh man! Oh. Man.
But you were, I mean, obviously you're going back to work for Carl, right?
I love Carl.
And so
Carl.
I'm not going to ask you to be against anybody on anything. Here's my side of the story, okay? I walk into the restaurant. Cooler is in the basement, right? So when you walk into the restaurant, you're directly above the cooler. So I open the door, and something smells rancid. Okay? Not icky. Not, like something's off. Like, oh, there's rancid something. So I walk in, and I think that maybe I, pass by the dumpster or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I still smell this thing. So I come into work 20 minutes early every day. I spend my first 20 minutes rummaging through the cooler.
You're like, what smells?
What the fuck is that smell? You know what I mean? And I think it was a while until Carl got there or something along the lines. So when it went along, did something else, and I think I told you or who's the red-haired chef there?
Kelly.
Huh?
Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly. I told Kelly, and I was just trying to let him know.
Hey, there's something funky.
At this point, I didn't think I did anything that would have rubbed anybody the wrong way or been abrasive in any kind of way. And so eventually Carl gets in, and he goes, I told him about the smell, or maybe Kelly told. Anyways, he finds out that I know about the smell. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, yeah, maybe it's that lamb stock. And I'm like, mate, what? Like, maybe that's not the way that it should smell. It shouldn't smell like rancid meat. That's my big thing, is it shouldn't smell rancid. And his response to me was, well, lamb is kind of gamey. And I like Carl, too. I like his cooking. I think he's an incredibly talented chef. In this specific instance, it's like, I know the specific breakdown of different fatty chain amino acids and different types of lamb.
Yeah.
Like, it's not gamey. It's fucking rancid, dude. And so at first I was trying to be like, what do you call it? Democratic, diplomatic. I was trying to be diplomatic about it. I was like, okay, maybe you want to smell it though. Mm-hmm. Right? So I went down and smelled it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely what it is.
Okay.
And I was like, well, what lamb did you use? And he's like, well, we used lamb from the cooler from Broder's. I was like, okay, we used that lamb in the summer and put it in the freezer when it was like getting to the point when I'm like, so it's probably rancid. You know what I mean? It's probably rancid, dude. And he was like, no.
They wouldn't give me bad meat. Maybe just something like that.
I don't know what his thought process was, but I'm not going to serve fucking rancid lamb. I'm not going to do it. I'm sorry, dude. I'm not in any way. So I went above his head to Isaac.
Oh, shit. Oh, damn.
Let's take a quick break because we're running out of time on the cameras, and we'll get right back into the meat of the story.
Damn, I didn't know that you told Carl that you went to Isaac, though.
Yeah, I fucking did. You want to pop those back on? We're back on.
Oh, sweet. All right.
Yeah, so I went to Isaac. And Isaac threw it out right away.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he was like, this is rancid.
Oh, damn.
And then 4 days later, they fired me. Yeah.
Well.
So I was upset.
I mean, reasonably so.
What? They fired me reasonably, or I'm upset reasonably?
Reasonably upset.
Yeah, I mean...
I can't answer the other questions. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if there was other things...
That's above my pay grade.
If there was other things involved, too, I get that. Because I can be abrasive. Like, we've talked about yelling in the kitchen. Like, that's just second nature to me. I'm very loud.
Like,
I'm very up. Especially if we're trying to do elevated food and people aren't, like, about it. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm like,
you're gonna get angry. Like,
yeah, like why don't you know what's on the menu, et cetera, et cetera.
Sometimes that rubs people the wrong way, and it can rub a number of people, especially in like a semi-open environment.
For sure.
That can, it's not
one whiff, and and I'm already on thin ice because of the Chad situation.
Yep.
So if that's the reason, I totally get that. But the timing on the lamb situation, I'm a little upset about that.
I mean, you know, we're all entitled to feel the way that we want to feel.
Yeah.
You know, I got no answers, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, but I mean, we just wanted.
If I were in your position, I probably would also be mad, though.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not still mad.
Yeah, obviously.
Right? Like, I was mad at the time.
Yeah,
I was upset at the time.
Moment,
yeah.
I feel like I didn't even do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's the way that it is. That's the industry. And like I said, I ended up going back to Lexington and had a great time and made a good amount of money and made some awesome connections and learned more cool stuff. One of the big things that I was frustrated about is I felt like they didn't think I wanted to be there when it was like one of the cooler concepts.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, it was like I was excited to kind of learn the stuff. I was excited to get on pasta because it was like it wasn't just an Italian restaurant. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We weren't doing fucking bolo and Alfredo. Like,
yeah, it wasn't spaghetti and meatballs.
Yeah, we were doing real Italian food and creative Italian food. And Kelly was really talented, and Pernaya was really talented, and Carl was really talented. I was excited to work there. That was most of the reason I was upset.
Yeah, that you're like, oh man, like I wanted to really do this.
Yeah, but hey, that's the way that it goes.
Sometimes...
And also, we had a really good thing going on. I fucking loved working with you, dude.
We had a really enjoyable time. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, man.
I really enjoyed working there. Yeah. Well, it lasted until it didn't, and then, you know.
Did they? What happened there? Did they just kind of?
I think
cleaned out the whole thing.
You know, mass exodus, how things go.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well,
Carl was going on to do stuff that he wanted to do and like leave, and like I was like, well, I'm only here. I was literally only there because Carl was there.
Yeah.
For me personally, because like I have a lot of love and respect for Carl.
Yeah.
And so like I was like, whoa, like, oh man, where was I before? I was done being burnt out and completely terrorized working at Martina.
You want to talk? Let's talk a little bit about Martina, dude.
Oh man, the chaos. I think. Yeah, that was I think that's probably the most like intense and like emotionally like draining opening I think I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
I think prior to like leading up, I feel like we worked like 20 days at least without like a day off.
Yeah.
Like literally no day off.
Yeah.
Like it was every single day you get there at like, we were getting there, it felt like I was getting there at like 11 in the morning and leaving like, I don't know, late at night.
Yeah.
Full day, like, that's the fucking game.
Yeah. Especially for an opening, and especially for a restaurant that
like
Piero was trying to do, or Del Piero was trying to do.
And it's like, that's how it is. And it's like, but then you open, and it's line out the door. Like 350 people every day. Didn't fucking matter. Wednesday. It's a Wednesday. You just see all the minions gathering at the window, like all peering in, and you're just like, well, better throw more fucking logs on this fire.
Fuck, man.
And it was but it was like a very like, we're gonna fucking rage. Like they literally intended to like create like that environment where it was just like, shots. Yep. Which is like, you know, it's like fun for a little while. And then like
20 days in, you're like, fuck, man.
But like when it's every day and you're just getting like ransacked and everyone's getting fucked up. Like that was a very, very wild. I had a lot of fun, but I also like, you know, probably got like mentally scarred in some kind of way that I haven't come to terms with yet.
The burnout is super, super real, and if it's an environment like that,
yeah, where you're like getting fucked up all the time. Like,
yeah,
oh yeah, I was like towards the end, like we were getting fucked up because it was like, well, I'm working till like 1 or 2 in the morning, so like can't go to the bar.
yeah.
So this is our bar.
Yeah.
Like we would get a pallet of old style, like just stacked to like the ceiling and just run. And it's like I don't want to like glorify doing things like that because, but I don't know. I like to use humor to like mask all the like the horrendousness. Well, like at the time, it's like really fun. Like unfortunately, I wish it wasn't.
Here's how I do it because I've had that experience at multiple places. The first place that I worked at with Chad was Victory 44, which is like,
oh yeah,
I mean,
the spot.
You say the name Erick Harsey, people are like, oh shit, like we're about to have a good time, right? And then there's DSpot.
Oh, up in Oakdale.
Bro, I was the sous chef at DSpot for 6 years.
Yeah, I forgot that was the wild party.
That was the wild fucking west. Like, we're gone for 4 days from the restaurant. You better fucking figure out, because like we're playing tag in fucking Vegas. And again, not glorifying it. That's how we coped.
Hell yeah.
When you're saying there's a line out the door at DSpot, it was like, it just never ended. Yeah. It was just like constantly you lived at DSpot for like years at a time, and like you just watched your life like fly by.
Oh yeah.
And
it's just like
and you're just like exhausted all the time, and the only thing that's like, well, there's two positive things. You're learning your craft. Because at DSpot, I learned more at DSpot than I learned at any other restaurant.
Yeah, I've heard you say that a few times.
I mean, the stuff that Darren knows, I had him on the show, man. It was fucking phenomenal. And you hear the way he talks about food. I mean, I legit think he knows more than any other chef in the Twin Cities. He's fucking insane. That's the only way that you could. So yeah, I learned more there. So that was one positive. And then the other positive was I was getting fucked up the whole time. Mm-hmm. Right, like it doesn't really matter if I'm miserable because I'm not miserable. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like we grew shroom honey and we drank it, all of it, and we're fucked up for like 4 days.
You're like, it's fine.
It's fine.
Someone will figure it out.
It's fine. It's like we're ending the place, but whatever, dude. We'll move on. And again, it's not about glorifying. I think that in certain restaurants to make it work with certain people. That's what you have to do.
It had to be like that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
have worked otherwise.
There was a lot of fun to be had. It's a lot of like craziness. Got to see the Ansel system go off. Never seen that happen before.
Yeah.
Right at 5:00. Not ideal.
Dude.
Not necessarily the time you want it to happen.
Oh my god, dude.
You're just like, this. Sorry, folks.
I'm honestly glad that you got that experience though, because that's like when we talk about like angry chefs that we've worked for or stuff like that. That's what they grew up in. That was what every restaurant that was worth its salt was like that.
Yeah, it's what you know. I can't. It's like if that's what you know and that's like the environment. Like, hey man, not everybody is like all perfect and good at like just changing themselves and just being like, well, I'm gonna be different. It's like that like takes a lot of like work and like a lot of like mental fortitude. Like, I can't say that I have that same strength because I don't.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like ways that I like was like raised and grew up in that like I like carry with. That I know that aren't necessarily like the best, and maybe but yeah, it's just you are in an industry where yelling and screaming, it's like and chaos, but it was like weirdly like fun and like it was until it wasn't.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's what you said. That's what people say in recovery a lot too. Is like. It was fun until it wasn't.
And that's the perfect way I can like describe it because like I really like I enjoyed a lot of just like because it helped push me to like understand like volume and not just like, which is important in this industry, like being able to like work quickly and efficiently and like learning how to become like efficient, because like I can take that and apply that to other things just outside of just showing up to work. Like you can having like efficiency and like being like highly organized and being able to just like figure out how to like just survive in that kind of like pressure cooker, like I think ultimately ends up like helping you if you want it to.
I fully agree with you. We talked about before we started rolling about like my finals and stuff,
Yep.
and like how school is like super super intense. I have a team in organic chemistry, right?
Okay.
And the young men and women that I have on my team do not have the same experiences that I do,
Mm-hmm.
and they cannot handle that class the same way that I can. Right?
Okay.
It's different like it's different skill set in terms of like your ability, right?
Yep.
And I would say that they have way more ability in like the specific like the way that they study, and
Okay.
those skills are much more learned,
Yep.
right? But in terms of like, I know how to grind. I know how to
Yep.
grind to the point where like I haven't slept for days, grind, and still, still knock this $100,000 fucking, not profit, but service out the window,
Mm-hmm.
right? I know how to run a $6 million a year restaurant. It wasn't comfortable in any sense
No.
of the word, but the accomplishment, you'll always have that.
Yeah.
I'll always have that. And I like what you said about organization, but it's also urgency,
Yep.
right? Everything is urgent. You have to be elevated and careful and near perfect on everything that you do, but it also needs to be done very, very, very quickly, and learning the balance between those two and how to kind of like be on this side for a little bit, okay, now and then on this side for a little bit is I think it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, I don't know, I really like it despite all of its like toxic traits. I have like in my head like what I think that I can like create of as like good like environments. I don't necessarily know how to like be practical with them, but it's like I know that it can be like better. Like I'm like I know that like it doesn't have to be the way it was, because I was like that's easy. Like and to me that's really like stuff that's like been easy has always been like very like boring. It's like it's easy to just like be like, oh, we'll take too much work to like change it, or like, but it's like, yeah, but like it's like if it sucks, make it not suck. And like too many people just like want it like keep it because it's like it is difficult, and maybe it means that like, oh, you're in this high elevated position and now you kind of have to like check yourself and be like, oh, maybe I am like a raging douche and I should like work on that. And it's like nobody, some people are willing to, which is like really cool. Like some people are like, I don't want to be like that. But it's like I think a lot of it will come from probably some of the younger generation, which I know gets like shit on a lot.
Not on this show.
Which I really enjoy, because like it's like that's like this is like something that's like really positive, because it's like not just like talking about like the bullshit that gets talked about everywhere, but it's like recognizing it's like nobody like wants that anymore.
Yeah.
People like listen, like people talk about that shit. Don't do that. Like don't be that way.
Yeah.
Like yes, it was like fun at the time because like you're in this like whirlwind and chaos, but it's like that should like not exist anymore.
It's not sustainable too.
That should also like not exist anymore. It's like that would be cool if like personally I'm like that is like it's not like a recipe for like doing really good because you're not your sharpest and you're not very like you shouldn't be like fucked up wielding knives and fire.
Yeah. let alone trying to make award-winning food and things like that, right? Like, good luck.
Sorry.
I like how you said, when you're in a position, not necessarily of power, right? But like when I was at Public, we took over the menu, and the last guys who had reign over there had been in the red for a real long time, and it was like our mission to get into the black.
Okay.
Right. And it was hard, man. We had to retrain the entire front of house, and we didn't really rehire. We just retrained. We're like, this is what we need to do, and we implemented like things like fish of the day, blah blah blah. But a huge portion of that was teaching the line how to cook like I cooked, how to cook like Aaron cooked, right? And it was honestly, it was a joyous experience for me, right? Because I've been Sue at a couple places, and it was never. It wasn't only not expected; it was expected of me to be an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, this is your job.
Bad cop.
Yeah, you're the guy with the whip, right? Like you're the whip in the House of Representatives. Like, I don't give a fuck what you think. Like, I'm the guy who's supposed to be an asshole to you, right? And in this case, I was just a teacher. And, dude, it was so amazing to watch guys who had little to no experience, learn, see for the first time how a Bermonte comes together or how a roux blooms. Or, it's like, this is all the stuff that when I started cooking, I was really happy to like be working for somebody who knew what they were doing and it was also willing to teach me, right? That was one thing about Darren. There was another thing about Chad. Like, that was their kindness. Their kindness was in the teaching of those moments. And now I've gotten to do that a little bit more. But at the same time, like I've said on the show, I'm not going to run the kitchen like that. I'm just not going to. If this is the culture that we're going to facilitate here, then I'm out. You can find somebody else. Because, well, for one, I'm sober, right? And, like, can't obviously, like, we can't be doing that shit while I'm sober. But more so than that, I like what you said about it shouldn't exist. Like, it ruins people. I've watched it ruin people.
Yeah, and that's like fucked up. Like, you should have like want people like, and like to like not even like think that that's like what you might like be cultivating. Like, just like destroying people is like, that's like, I don't know. That just, maybe it's just because I've never really been an asshole. Even if I try to be, not very good at it.
No, you're a really good dude. No, you're really good, dude. I always really, really enjoyed.
Some people are better at it, and it's like, but I respond really well, unfortunately, to like being like yelled at opposed to like being like talked to kindly.
Yeah.
But that probably just like leads back to like.
It's what you're used to, I think.
Yeah, just,
honestly.
That's, when you grow up like that, it's hard that like. That doesn't really ever, like, I don't know. Some people shake it. Other people, it's just, like, you thrive in it. And you're like, oh, fuck yeah. Like, it's go time. Like, I'm going to fuck this shit up now. It's going to be awesome.
Here's where I made a huge turning point on this issue. I'm super glad that we're talking about this kind of in depth. Because it's like, I think it's more than just being an asshole, right? Like, it's not, these people aren't, like, some of them are assholes, right? Like,
but lots of them aren't. Because lots of them removed from the situation aren't outside of, like, the current, like, flow of the machine. But it's like once you remove them, it's like they're not still yelling at you.
There's two, like, celebrities that kind of formulate three. Let's talk about three celebrities. I talked about two of them on here. So for one, Anthony Bourdain. When Anthony Bourdain died, right, it was a huge turning point for me. It was like that because okay. There's lots of theories about how he died, right?
Yep.
But if he died the way that they say he died,
Mm-hmm.
right? He died from the exact culture that we're talking about. Like it just eroded his soul, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like he just even years later when he's got like the greatest gig around, he couldn't shake that mentality.
Yeah, it's like, could he even appreciate the gig?
Yeah. So it's like even at the highest level, it ruins people, right?
Yeah.
At the very highest level. Now there's two other people. There's Gordon Ramsay and Marco Pierre White. And it's like you look at the differences in how they did it. And like obviously Ramsay's whole like persona is that he's an asshole, right? But if you like talk to his sous chefs, right, who now run Michelin star restaurants, by the way, right? Mm-hmm. The people that he taught and the people that he brought up, they don't talk about him like that. You know what I mean? They're like, that's not how it was to work for Ramsay, right? It was stern and it was intense, but it wasn't like working for Marco Pierre White. And you notice the people that Marco Pierre White has under him are few and far between. Is pretty much Ramsay, right? Like, whereas Ramsay has this slew of people. Same thing with Trotter.
Yep.
Right? Like, Trotter's people are like getting, fucking slammed up for domestic abuse and shit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think the biggest, starkest difference is between Marco Pierre White and Gordon Ramsay, and watching the legacy of what those two men have created and the differences in the insidious fucking like ego-driven insanity that Marco Pierre White was, and then this much more driven, much kinder Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, just.
How do you feel? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're both assholes.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, but maybe he just gives that, like, persona. Like, because of, like, TV and, like, oh, like, I'm a character. I mean, I don't know.
I think he's been caricaturized for sure. That is what Gordon Ramsay is on TV. And like, even, so like you read his first book that he wrote, and it was talking about the first season that he was on, and he had a restaurant that he was supposed to run, and he was supposed to have these people come in, and they wanted to be chefs.
That was Hell's Kitchen?
Hell's Kitchen, yeah, season 1. And they gave, instead, right, and it's exactly like a Big Brother situation where the producers are like, I know how we're going to get this dude pissed off. Right? They gave him a bunch of reality TV stars. These people wanted to be on reality TV. They had never flipped a pan.
Like, oh, you can be a chef.
Yeah, so you're trying to get, the situation to fucking make a bordelaise. Can you imagine? I would lose my mind.
Yeah, why do you keep burning the scallops? You're supposed to know how to cook those.
Yeah, and then so he loses his mind. He gets furious. The ratings are through the roof.
They're like, we love this. Yeah, because, we love watching that. Like,
yeah. But in his restaurants, it's a very different situation. Very different situation. At least that's what I've read. I mean, I've read from people, and it's interesting. I always look at this. I always look at the sous or at now executive chefs of their own restaurant. It's kind of like with Keller, right? Like, nobody has anything bad to say about Thomas Keller. Nobody, right? So to see that legacy, same with Magnus Nielsen, right? Mm-hmm. All of the people that worked for them loved them.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it can be done, so why not do it that way?
Because I think some people get, like, the rush off of everything that's been, like, kind of characterized in like the industry of like, oh, like ha 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 ha. It's like all like part like the celebrity of it mixed with like the like, oh, this is like, it's been like romanticized in a way. So it's like people almost like, I honestly feel like some people strive to like almost like try to purposely like create those kind of like environments to be like, we can be like this thing that gets and it's like, it just, I don't know, it'd be cool if like moving forward, like those are like the things that get like cut away. Like maybe the pandemic, well, terrible and shitty, maybe was good for like kind of like forcing like some restructuring and kind of forcing a lot of people to like kind of look at it like not just like chefs and sous but like workers and stuff as well, and like, yo, like let's not go back to like a used to. It's like it's been given a chance to like be recreated, and it's cool seeing a lot of people like taking that opportunity and like reshaping it, recreating it, even new businesses that are opening with like a much healthier like culture in mind.
I fully agree.
Which is like really cool because like obviously this has been awful. Like I'm not trying to like underplay what has happened, but I think that like with everything that like happens, you should try to like find some things in it. It's like this was a perfect way to like maybe have people look at themselves and look at like the business at whole. Like if you can't pay people a certain amount, that means that you can't have that business. No matter how much you want your, you know, banana scallops and your fucking butterscotch and mussels, it's just not gonna fucking work.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, like if you like, yeah.
I agree. Let's take a quick break and I'll talk to you a little bit about like what I've seen on how that change I think is starting to manifest.
Sweet.
Cool. You have a good time?
Oh yeah.
Good.
Just never done anything like this before. So my brain goes through some farts at times.
It's been one of my best episodes.
It's a lot of fun.
At first, you had to tell me your brain was farting, but now I can see when it's happening, and I'll just pick up wherever you left off.
Which you're really good at that. You're like pretty good at like being able to like continue like steering things where they need to like go.
Oh well, thank you. I have passion for what we're talking about, and I think that helps.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like we're talking about subjects that, you know, when I say that people are ruined, it's like those were my friends, like my good friends. Mm-hmm. Sometimes like the people who taught me or the people who, you know, really were there for me. Like Seth doesn't talk about it, and I'm not going to go too deep into it because I don't know how much he wants to be public.
Yep.
But before we did this show, he was a bartender for like 2 years.
Okay.
He's like, he wouldn't even go into the kitchen. Like if he needed lemons, he's like,
I'll cut my own lemons.
I can't. Can somebody get them for me? Because he was just like, it ruined him, right? And ruined him. Maybe that's me being dramatic, but like it affected him to the point where like he couldn't actually step foot into a kitchen. And he was the, you know, he was working at IE. He was my exec at, you know, a bunch of different restaurants. So, that I think that passion kind of leads into these kinds of conversations. But also, I've been doing this for about a year now, and I'll give myself a little credit.
You're like, yeah, it's, you know,
starting to get into the flow of the conversation and stuff like that. But also, and I'm not going to suck your dick the whole episode, but I really I've always enjoyed talking to you, and I've always enjoyed just shooting the shit with you. So it's nice that we get to do it and just put it on camera.
Yeah, it's like, it's just, you record your conversation that we would have anyway.
Yeah.
without it, which is like that's a pretty like cool aspect of things that you can just like kind of do that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like you're already gonna like talk about this shit anyway.
Yeah. Like, yeah, dude, and then I said I went over his head, dude. All right. Can you imagine me saying that on the line? Yeah, okay, I fucking went over his head, dude. What?
Oh, that would I'm going downstairs. I'm removing myself from this situation.
Christos, you're on your fucking own, bud.
I'll run up into that little apartment they had upstairs.
So, before we took the break, we were talking about like changes in the industry, and my whole theory when we started this pandemic deal was the super high elevated food is going to be taken down a notch, right? Just it's not sustainable, right? Mm-hmm. For reasons we've gone at length into. And then the things that are on, the lower rung, food trucks, startups, pop-ups, right? People with less experience, taquerias, right? They're going to step up. And they're kind of
oh my shit.
That's
gonna everything I love.
Yeah, dude. And they're gonna meet in the middle, and that's absolutely what you see. I mean, like a big aesthetically, one of the biggest things that I like to use an example is shout out to El Norte Kitchen.
Okay.
When they do pop-ups and they take pictures of their food, it's fucking street food. It is. It's always street food. It's never like. And then we did a 32-step, a version of a sauce American that we gelled, and then, it was never that. It's street food, but it's beautiful. Everything about it looks very fresh, very bright, and they have elevated their food, which is just street food, to, I shouldn't say just street food. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying.
They've elevated their food to a point where people who have worked in the galley-style kitchen for their whole lives respect it.
Hell yeah.
And we see it happening all over the place. And so that is what's happening in terms of quality, is I think this like meeting in the middle, high middle, right? So this meeting in the middle of, and the other thing that's happening is people are just straight up, like it sounds super simple, but I think and I know that it's just like I've never seen this in restaurants before. People are just living within their means. Mm-hmm. I can't have a 20-table restaurant. I don't have the following. I don't have the capital. I don't have the menu. I need 8 tables, right? Max. At the very most. Like my friend Soleil, I brought her up on the show earlier. She had kind of an idea of what she was going to do, and then she ended up opening up in the World Market, Midtown Global Market. Yep. I don't know why I forget that name. So she opened up in Midtown Global Market, and now she's like ahead of the game, and she can afford to take a little bit more risk with some of the food and also expand. Right, she's starting small and expanding instead of like what we're used to, where we're like, we sunk $18 million into renovations of this barn, and
it's gonna hold 700 people, and we're gonna do 1,400 every day for eternity. Like, no, you're not. Maybe for a little while, but start like small and grow from there. Yeah, like. Everyone just wants to, shoot their wad right away and just like, I need all of it immediately. It's like, no, like focus on like what you know and then like go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where the true creativity, I've talked about it on the show, comes from hardship, right? It comes from a lack of resources, right? So.
Gotta make do with what you got. You're like, I only have this, so I'm going to make something super killer, and it's going to be fucking awesome. And, it might even just be like, I just have these few things. Maybe even you got some shit out of a can. Doesn't matter. You got what you got.
Well, it's interesting you bring up the can because I worked at Bistro LaRue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of my favorite jobs that I've ever had. I learned so much in such a short period of time. So Bistro LaRue is out in like, I don't even know the county. It was by my house in Blaine, but I don't, maybe like Centennial or.
Yeah, it was up in that area though.
Yeah. So, but the chef was from New Orleans. I mean, he was, he staged at Commander's Palace.
Okay.
He was like, he had, over a period of like 8 years, he bought out half this strip mall, and he had this stage where he had people from, he had people come up, play jazz. He would get up on and play his harmonica.
Sweet.
It was a beautiful, and then on Mardi Gras, we'd make enough money to pay for the whole year.
Yep.
Like, it was just, like, Mardi Gras, frankly, was insane. It was the most insane thing I've probably ever been a part of. Because, like, we talk about, like, not being able to do, like, a petite dice fast enough. And, like, I couldn't fry shrimp fast enough. My hands are, like, gunked in, like, powder. I just, like, white all over me. I got beads and, like, face paint on.
You don't feel the...
and they're like, we need more shrimp. I'm like, there's no more fryers. I don't know what... Like, it's just
I'm
not...
all out of oil.
Yeah, they're doing boils, and they're doing, they're doing pig roasts. They're doing alligator roasts. All kinds of really awesome stuff. And at the same time, we were getting the opportunity. He was very cool about letting us kind of play.
Yeah.
He's
nice.
Like he would read. He was like he's an older man, right?
Okay.
I've had him on the show, Chef Tim. And a veteran, blah blah blah. And he's like, he'd read a thing, and he's like, "Can you do that?" I'll be like, "Fuck yeah, I can do that." What do you mean? Yeah, it was a sugar glass, man. I could do it. And I'm like, looking up on the phone.
Quick go.
I can do it, dude. Totally.
We're gonna make it work.
Yeah, but he would be like, I really like this. Can we do a version of this? Can we do your version of this? Can we do my version of this? He really liked like barbecued shrimp, right? He's like, how can we elevate that? Mm-hmm. It was a really, really cool environment. I totally forgot my point because I love this restaurant so much. I mean, we're talking about how people make things sustainable and kind of like move and grow into that culture, and it's like, talk to Tim, dude.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, you brought up canned food, so like,
whatever you got.
Like when we would get pre-diced peppers from like US Foods or something, right? And it's like, yeah, because we have 3 people, and it's a New Orleans restaurant, so we're doing Trinity. So we use
a lot of peppers.
We use 4 bags of peppers a day, and like it just doesn't make sense to fucking shave the fucking membrane off of every pepper and dice it.
It's not like doesn't make sense labor wise either.
Yeah, not at all. Especially
because it's being cooked. Like, too many people are like hung up on these things that like it's like, does it always have to be like we're gonna get the tiniest garlic and you need to peel 17 quarts of it by hand, but all we're gonna do is we're gonna mince it and we're gonna cook the fuck out of it. It's really just
that was
it's like sometimes it doesn't make sense to make people do that. Like, sometimes you have things that exist for a reason. You have 3 people, like...
Yeah, like, it doesn't make sense when a chef has romanticized this, like, ancient technique that has no...
It needs to be done this way only.
Yeah.
If it's already cut up, it's somehow, like, different.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not, though.
Well, and here's the thing. We've talked about... Actually, we talked about it before we started the cameras, so, like, we can get into it a little bit. But we talked about, like, the difference of, like, tomatoes.
Yep.
Right? Like, yeah, if you get a tomato from U.S. Foods that's a beefsteak tomato, and it's, like, they grow, trillions of them.
In just, like, a hot closet.
Yeah, it's not...
With a little light.
Yeah, and it's like the tomato itself is, like, this big. You know, and that obviously is not the way to go. But that doesn't mean that you have to buy a pot and soil and in your little restaurant grow your own tomatoes and then care for the tomatoes on the clock and then you know,
get paid for growing those tomatoes if you're gonna do that.
And
you won't, but you should try.
Right? And so it's like that isn't the answer either, right? Like find
there's definitely like a balance in like finding the things to like use.
I like that you brought up garlic, because at Italian eatery I'd spend most of the day mincing garlic, right? And I'd spend most of the day peeling and mincing garlic, and we didn't have a mincer, we didn't have like you weren't allowed to do it in the Robo-Q because it would bleed, I guess, you know.
Yeah, just like
I'm gonna in post. I'm gonna close up on the eye roll, because it's like that's exactly how I felt. It's like
just like God damn it.
And then they're like, "Why are you behind?" And it's like, "Because you gave me the fucking garlic to do."
Yeah, or like you can't fucking put it between 2 6 pans and just shake the fuck out of it so it all gets loosened and peel it that way, because you might bruise it. Like, motherfucker, I'm mincing it into a paste. You're not gonna know it's bruised anymore.
Yeah.
Like, so, it's like...
So those are really... those are kind of... That's actually something that I've had to learn, right? That's one of those things that I've had to grow out of, because I was taught by people who like were absolute about that kind of shit. And then like one day, Aaron, chef, I don't know if you probably don't know Aaron. He was my exec at Public, and he was the CDC at the Lex for a little bit. Anyways, one day Aaron was like, took it and he looked at me. He took a handful of garlic and he put it into the Robo-Q and just like pressed the thing. And he's like, what? Why is it taking you so long? I'm like, okay, dude, fucking.
You're like, I didn't know I was allowed to do that.
Yeah. I'm like, isn't it gonna bleed?
Which sounds wild to say it out loud until you're shown like, this is okay to do. Which is like very weird.
One cool thing about Soleil was she was intense. I mean, she lasted the longest as a CDC at the Lexington, which takes like a serious badass gene that I don't have. Like, she is
and there's very select like people that are just like, they're supposed to like, that is what you're supposed to be.
She's a fucking gangster, 100%. And I talk her up on the show all the time. You know what I mean? But, you know, we're homies, right?
Yep.
But her thing is taste the food. Does it taste different if you threw the garlic in the Robo-Q? Okay, then you do it. Baboso. You know, it's as simple as that.
Yep.
And that I really like. It comes down to taste, man. That's what this industry is about the taste of the food. It's not about the painstaking preparation of picking the thyme the way that you did, you know?
Yeah.
It's like
picking it, just the fucking tweezers.
Just fucking strip it.
Because if you pick it with your bare hands, your oils will leach out onto the thyme and it will change its flavor. Like shit like that. It's like, that is just like everything. Like, if that's what you do, fine. But like, I'm still allowed to be a hater though.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's...
Love what you do and like enjoy doing it, but like, you're not gonna like catch me like...
Dude, what it brought to mind was, you know, my favorite chef right now, Chef Dan Barber, the guy who got me all excited about school. He has
the Blue Hill guy.
Yeah, Blue Hill and Stone Barns. So have you seen his chef table?
Yeah, his like the $40 carrot or whatever it is.
Yeah, like he just goes fucking hog wild. He grows everything there. Okay, so there's like a portion in it. It's like a 10-minute portion where he's talking to the camera dude, and he's like, yeah, I don't really want to be like this anymore. And then it cuts to him being like, don't fucking bang the fucking pants. What are you, stupid? And then he's like, I'm trying to change. And then he takes it and he's like, it tastes like dog shit, you know? It's so funny. It's so funny.
The contrast is amazing.
Because you can tell he's trying, right? You can tell he's trying, but like it's just so ingrained in him. But that's
like, I don't want to be like this. Fuck you.
That's the point. And then you see, like, because obviously he's putting in crazy output. One thing I want to just quick say as a side note is I'm not saying that these men and women that we're saying are assholes don't do work, because
not at all.
They're there.
Not saying that.
They're there in
all.
Insanely longer time.
Never talked about no work ethic.
Yeah. So I don't want there to be any room for like people to
Disclaimer.
go. Yeah, no, absolutely. These guys are working hard. So he's working hard, right?
Monster beasts.
But like at a place like Blue Hill Stone Barns, there's like all these moving parts, right? They're growing all the food there, right? There's all these different metrics. So there's like a couple shots they get of this one cook, and his like it just looks like he's never slept a day in his life. Like his bags are like down to here, and it's so funny because like I watched the Chef's Table with a gal friend of mine, and it's a very beautiful romantic show, right? So we would always get like totally worked up and like totally into it, but every time we would watch an episode and there'd be a chef or a cook who was like I can't. The cameraman would just like get him in the corner of the screen. It'd be like just some dude like passed out in the fryer. You know what I mean? I
can't. I have carpal tunnel from all this tweezer use.
And it shows. That's where the wear shows is on the lower ring of the staff and so it's kind of like at the top, and then I don't know. It shows everywhere, but I'm saying it shows on the staff, and it's laughable. Like I can't hold in my laughter because like I've been there.
Recognize it.
I've been in that guy's
and
exact
that's something
position.
That, like, but I feel like that's probably something only like maybe you would like pick up on too, is like seeing that where you're just like, oh man, yeah, you haven't slept, buddy.
You're seeing time in your dreams.
You're
right
like
now,
you're just like in your car, you're like, oh. And then an hour's gone by and you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
What's happened?
Yep. 100%. And okay, here's another thing I kind of want to talk to you about. And we kind of rolled right into the subject. Here's my thing about that. Those people are winning Michelin stars or earning whatever you want to call it. They're getting multiple Michelin stars, right? Fucking Red Zeppi changed the economy of Denmark with Noma. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I guess, just we have an influx of tourism because of my restaurant. So it's
Which is wild.
Right. So at that point, it's like, okay, you tell me.
It's like you're signing up for that.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's just like going into that not knowing.
And even knowing, right? Like there is a reason for that, right? Like he's smoking herbs singularly on a cold smoke grill, right? To put on something, and it's specifically lemon thyme, and that's specific, and so he tweezers it, right? But you're learning from the best in the world, and you can get a job anywhere that you want, ever, dude. If you work at Noma, it's like I'm pulling my pants down, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And like tying my shoe. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
yeah.
Like, hey, but then you transfer that same thought process and you're making, $2 over minimum at some place that nobody's ever heard of and nobody comes to. And maybe you're learning a couple things, right? And this isn't what you think. I'm not going where you think I'm going with it.
No, I know.
I'm just saying that the stark contrast. Like, you can't act like Red Zeppi.
Yeah, it can't be, like, duplicated. I feel like a lot of people, like, want to, like, copy each other and, like, oh, well, they're doing it like this. It's like, Like,
you can't. I mean, that's what cooking is to a degree,
Yeah,
right?
it
Is
is
like
like-
using other people's
Yeah,
techniques
you're like
and
just-
and sharing. But like my main point is like Red Zeppy is winning Michelin stars. He's winning the best restaurant in the world multiple years in a row. That is the level that he's working on. We are in St. Paul, Minnesota. These people walked into the door and are like, why isn't mashed potatoes on your menu?
uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? So like, and
You
you're
have ranch.
yeah, they're asking for ranch, and you're telling me to pick time with the tweezers. I'm fucking over it.
Yeah. Exactly. Not the same.
Yeah,
Not the same.
yeah.
Because there is a time and a place for it. No pun intended. I'm sorry.
That pun was intended, dude. What pun was intended? I felt the intention behind the pun. It's so great. No, it's so great, and like I get to a degree, like with places like Victory 44 and Martina, like these chefs are trying to kind of push the culture in Minnesota a certain way.
We want to do something that's like different that maybe doesn't necessarily exist, or we want to like, which I'm for, because like things are always going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just don't be a dick about it.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
I mean,
it's so much more fun to like have fun. You know, I had a chef one time, like I was like wigging out, and he came up to me, he's like, remember, it's just dinner. And it's like, that thing has literally stuck with me for like so long that like sometimes I like won't, and like I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Like,
I think you told me that you told that to me one time.
yeah.
Yeah, and I was
Where
like,
it's
it's not just fucking dinner.
Exactly. And like some people like don't like hearing that because
No, it's true.
you're wanting to like almost make something more than that, which
Yeah.
I totally understand. And like I respect that like deeply because you're connected to it outside of that. But like sometimes it's a healthy reminder of just like, you're just cooking food. We're just cooking food. Like,
Yeah.
we're not changing like the world. We're not reinventing anything. We're doing shit that's like it can be really cool and it can taste fucking awesome. But like, we're just cooking food.
Yeah. No, that
Doesn't always work to like recenter you, but like,
it's so important that you brought that up, because for my journey specifically, that has been something that's taken over as I've learned more and more about life in general, right? Like specifically agriculture, and like what we talked about before the show about what I'm going to school for,
Yep.
right? There is a drive in me that wants to cook food for people.
hell yeah.
So
Yeah.
like
Same. We wouldn't do it if you like it.
I think I have. Let me get to my point quick, because with Grant, I can't say his last name. Atkins.
Atkins, I think.
Atkins.
think.
With Grant Atkins, I feel so bad I can't say his name, but it's not a meal anymore. It's not dinner.
No, it's not.
It's something else, and there's nothing wrong with that.
But I think he does a good job of presenting it as something else.
Yes, but like that's not what I want to do. I want to do elevated food. I want it to be very, very delicious, very artistic, and even new sometimes. Like I want people to have new experiences in the restaurant, but I want to feed people first and foremost. I want it to be nutritious, right? I like that. The nutrition part not necessarily happened at DSpot, but what happened at DSpot is people would come in there and they would leave happy 100% of the time. 100% of the time, dude. Unless Darren cussed somebody out because he just felt like it. You know what I mean? Like that. But if they ate his food, they were happy. And I experienced that when I ate his food, and everybody who worked there because we felt that people were eating like that. And it was $1 a wing. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't this crazy. We did elevated stuff and things like that, but we were feeding people. And so as I've kind of like grown through that journey, it's been more and more about that. You know what I mean? Like, and now I'm going to school to hopefully like help feed the world. That's what I want to do, man.
Mm-hmm.
That I want to heal the soil to help feed the fucking world. But people in restaurants, they get this militaristic, like, the Nazis are here and we're gonna fucking murder them. It's like, I thought you're right. It's just dinner, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm either going to name the episode as just dinner or don't be a dick about it.
Both of which are very good contenders.
Well, Eric, I had a really, really good time with you, man.
Had a great time.
Hopefully we can do this again.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. If you want to, I'll post up Burger Dive stuff. But yeah, if you want to come back on the show once you get back in the groove of cooking, and even if you have stuff to plug, you're always welcome, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. It was a great time.
Hell yeah.
All right, peace. Thanks, guys.
My heart, lovers remember my old homes are burning my memory. My shovel writes a new song. I can almost hear them singing along as I keep digging away. Her love rubbed me raw, methamphetamine, alcohol, if only left me stay. Buried in the backyard, long after gone to my childhood dark bodies. Some of them were my friends. Some were more like enemies. Shouldn't matter now to them. Should've said something much to me. Last night I took apart most everything in your garage and got myself some dollars and cents. Taken off to St. Paul, and I will surely spend it all on Hope Street, the last house on the block.